tube, a stent, is often used to reopen the vessels and prevent a heart attack. But if that stent in turn gets blocked, more invasive heart surgery is often necessary unless you make use of special stent technology.
This is a new life-saving technology that dissolves when its work is done. The body can break down the stent.
We're placing great hopes in this new technology. There's something fascinating about it because your body breaks down this foreign object instead of you walking around with it your whole life. That's a good feeling for patients, and it's got medical benefits too.
I would even go as far as saying that in the next 5 years, these stents will be the most common kind used in international cardiology.
A heart attack becomes a threat when coronary blood vessels have become dangerously constricted. In these cases, doctors can place a self-dissolving stent in a blood vessel to open it up. They use a balloon catheter to place a bioabsorbable stent made of lactic acid polymer in the blood vessel. The balloon opens up the artery and presses the stent into the arterial wall, restoring blood flow. A bioabsorbable stent dissolves within 2 years.
After 6 months, the artery is so stable that it no longer has the tendency to collapse. When that phase is reached, a metal stent is no longer necessary. That's why the concept of bioabsorbable stents is really attractive. Once that phase is reached, the metal stent becomes an unnecessary foreign object.
The greatest concern is recurrent arterial narrowing. A permanent metal stent can cause growths in arterial tissue that may obstruct the blood vessel. This is exactly what happened to Hubertus Hunk. 4 years ago, he received a new hip joint.
Something came off and ended up stuck in the stent and caused the blockage.
It's quite common because before they have surgery, patients are often told to reduce the amount of blood thinners they take. Today, they usually consult with cardiologists, but sometimes they come off them completely. Then there's the danger that a clot will get caught on the stent and cause a heart attack.
Like it did with Hubertus Hunk. Deathly ill, he was immediately transferred to Kiel University Clinic, where he had to be resuscitated 4 times. The cardiologists opened the blocked stent and another arterial support. Then he spent weeks fighting to survive.
You can imagine that if they kept me in an artificial coma for 5 weeks, that they really worked hard to keep me alive.
Today, Hubertus Hunk is back on his feet, but his heart and kidneys have been permanently damaged. Could he have avoided all of that if he had had a bioabsorbable stent instead?
Naturally, that's hypothetical, but the way I see it, the chances of an event like that occurring would have been much lower with one.
Magnesium was one of the first materials researchers used in developing dissolving stents. These would degrade after 3 months. Studies showed that was too early. The arteries narrowed again. They've improved magnesium stents in the meantime, but now doctors are placing their hopes in the new bioabsorbable stents made of lactic acid. But at the moment, they're only suitable for relatively straight vessels that are not too seriously obstructed. Bernhard Jesper is 68 and needs a stent. He has a narrowed coronary artery and is short of breath. He can choose between a metal and a bioabsorbable one.
After they explained it to me, the main reason for my opposition to it, having a foreign object in my body, disappeared.
Bernhard Jesper becomes one of the first patients to receive a bioabsorbable stent. After surgery, he's getting plenty of air again. The stent is holding the artery open, and after 2 years, it will be gone.
Basic Bathing in seawater and natural salt solutions has a long medical tradition. The ancient Greek doctor Hippocrates is said to have encouraged his patients to soak in warm salt water as a cure for various skin diseases. A bath in warm salt water is said to stimulate circulation, detoxify and help heal dry, irritated skin. If nothing else, it's very relaxing.
The water in this natural hot spring near Berlin has a temperature of 30 degrees Celsius all year round. The water comes from a depth greater than 1,500 meters and is full of valuable mineral salts. It detoxifies the body, strengthens the immune system, and is balm for the airways. The air bubbles in the whirlpool are like micro-massage devices that promote circulation. The water dripping down the walls here has a temperature of 36 degrees Celsius. When the drops hit the stone walls, they vaporize and bathers inhale them.
The water creates a mist, forming aerosols. That means in this grotto, we've got a modern way to do inhalation therapy. It's good for your airways, the bronchial tubes, and good for your skin, of course.
Taking a Middle Eastern mud bath, or razul, cleanses and firms the skin. Massages with herbal gels stimulate circulation and aid relaxation. Algal ingredients in the bath are there to help activate metabolism. And a bath in milk and honey leaves the skin soft and supple. And finally, a trip to the sauna is a perfect end to a perfect day of relaxation.
Each year, more than 320 million tons of potatoes are cultivated and put to good use in kitchens worldwide. You can fry, bake or boil them, and potatoes contain vitamin C, potassium, magnesium and iron. No wonder they are so popular with food lovers around the world. Germans especially cherish their potatoes, which also shows in the names we give them.
Potato varieties have pretty names in Germany. Names like Sieglinde, Selma, Berba, and Zilena. They sound like long-lost loves, but they're just spuds. There are more than 5,000 varieties of them. Each German eats about 60 kilos of potatoes a year on average. The statistic has Germany vying for top spot in the world rankings. But how did the spud become so widespread? It all started more than 400 years ago in South America, when the Incas introduced the starchy root to the Spanish conquistadors. The locals in the Andes had been raising potatoes for about 8,000 years. The Spaniards brought them back to Europe. Initially, potatoes were raised solely as decorative plants in the gardens of nobles, because the flowers were considered beautiful. Prussian King Frederick the Great was said to be a real fan of potatoes. He wanted to use the starchy vegetable to fight famine, and made growing potatoes for food popular in the 18th century. Spuds have been on the plate for more than 250 years. They're very good for you, rich as they are in vitamin C, protein, and carbohydrates. What's more, they provide a great deal of fiber and minerals and contain very little fat. But you have to be careful about storing them. If they're kept the wrong way, substances known as alkaloids form under the skin and the potatoes become green and toxic. For children, eating as little as 2 green potatoes can be life-threatening. That's why they should always be stored in well-ventilated places, such as baskets with a cloth over them. The storage area should also be dark and not too warm. And apples and pears shouldn't be stored nearby. Otherwise, the ethylene gas they emit will cause the potatoes to spoil more quickly. why do spuds have a reputation?